accomplishment. A graduate of the University of Texas, he was the class valedictorian while earning his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. 1978, he moved to California to attend the Stanford Business School and graduated 2 years later with his MBA and with honors. After his stint with the Boston Consulting Group, he founded and served as the Chief Executive Officer of Strategic Mapping, a software company that displays geographical data on digital maps. In 1995, he continued his entrepreneurial streak by founding and serving as the CEO of SnapTrack, where he created the technology to add GPS receivers into phones, a function used by all of us today. SnapTrack was sold to Qualcomm in 2000 for a reported $1 billion. Not slowing down, Steve served as a volunteer teacher in San Jose's Mount Pleasant High School. As a teacher of 12th grade American government, he received the Rookie Teacher of Year's honors. Continuing his focused education, he also co-founded two nonprofits, Ed Voice and the California Chapter Schools Association. In 2006, he ran for the office of California Insurance Commissioner, a position he handily won by 12% margin. In 2008, Commissioner Poizner announced his candidacy for Governor of California. In addition to all of the above, Steve found time to earn a black belt in karate and marry his beautiful half Carol, with whom he raises their beautiful daughter Rebecca in Los Gatos. And now, fresh from the debate, please join me to say hello to Steve Poizner.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Well, you know, I've been insurance commissioner for 3 years now. I also, of course, candidate for governor for a while, so I get to go up and down the state of California giving lots of speeches. And sometimes the introductions don't go very well. Unlike that one. It's pretty nice. I was at a high school recently. A student stands up to introduce me. The student had a really bored look on her face. Her introduction to me was short and sweet. She said, "This is Mr. Poizner. He's been an engineering geek in Silicon Valley for 20 years. Now he's into insurance." That was it. She sat down. That was the whole introduction. When I got home that evening, I had to go talk to my 18-year-old daughter, Rebecca. I had to ask her, "Why did you introduce me that way?" Sad but true. My 18-year-old, she's applying to college. St. Mary's is on our list. Any St. Mary's fans here? Fantastic day for St. Mary's. Upset, fantastic. So, as you heard, I spent most of my career a few miles from here in Silicon Valley, starting and running high-tech companies. Definitely not a career politician, that's for sure. My last company, you probably haven't heard of the name until maybe just a few moments ago, is called SnapTrack. But I bet you do have my technology in your pocket, right now. We did figure out a way to put a GPS receiver, a global positioning satellite receiver, into a cell phone. And so when you dial 911 from the cell phone, the emergency operators will know exactly where you're calling from. Well, that turned out to be an important feature. About 700 million cell phones have this feature. We have saved hundreds of lives with it. It's really proud of what the team did there. Did sell the company to Qualcomm a few years ago. And then after running companies in Silicon Valley for 20 years, I decided, okay, I have to switch gears. I simply can't sit on the political sidelines any longer. I could tell even a few years ago, California heading off of a cliff. People running the state oblivious to the fact that we're in a new global economy and we need to overhaul our state or our state's going to get steamrolled. Now, the first thing I decided to focus on wasn't to just run for office, but instead, I did turn my attention to the public school system. Now, any high school folks here tonight at all? Now, I've come to the conclusion that, and I hope you agree with me, if we don't get California's public schools back on track, we'll never fix this great state of California. This is essential. 50% of the fourth graders can't read. Now, how many of you went to California public schools? Just curious. Well, it looks like most of you. And that's the irony, right? We know how to educate kids. When we had a public school system up and running in the 60s and 70s, it was the best in the country. And we've gone from first to worst in a pretty short period of time. Now, what's happened? Now, as my daughter likes to kid me, and she says, you know, I am an engineer, that's a fact. And I'm an entrepreneur. I do like to fix things. I like to build things. Now, before I can fix something, I have to get into the trenches and understand the issues. I can't just peer from afar and try to figure it out. So that's why I decided to teach for a year. And that was an eye-opener. Now, I thought that the public school system might embrace me immediately. After all, I wasn't looking for compensation or anything. It actually, easier said than done to get into the classroom. So, you know, I live in Los Gatos with my wife and daughter, 30 minutes from here or so. And there's a school district in San Jose called the East Side Union High School District. Maybe you know that area. You know, the district office is on Story and White Road in East San Jose. About 25,000 high school kids, about 12 high schools. So it's about 30 minutes from my office, excuse me, my house. So I decided to drive to the district office a few years ago, this massive building that runs this gigantic district, and volunteer. Didn't make an appointment, didn't call them in advance, just went there. And I went up to the receptionist and I said, I'm Steve Poizner, and I'd like to volunteer and teach, not looking to be compensated. Just want to help as much as I can. I want to learn as much as I can. The receptionist kind of tilts her head and says, what? Never heard that before. Hang on a second. So she goes to the back to get the head of personnel that hires teachers. I'll never forget, this was at lunch. By the time she got back up to the front there, she had a pretty angry look on her face. I could tell I disrupted her lunch. She had a little mustard on her lip there. And she asked me, what can I do for you, sir? And I said, well, let me introduce myself. I'm Steve Poizner, not looking to be paid, want to help, want to volunteer and teach. And she says, what qualifies you to be in the classroom? I had to think about that for a second. I said, okay, I have an electrical engineering degree from the University of Texas. I did graduate at the top of my class, and I went to Stanford Business School, graduated with an MBA with honors, and I spent 20 years starting and running high-tech companies in Silicon Valley, pretty successfully. And then last year I was in the White House, where I worked in the National Security Council in their counterterrorism group. I had a security clearance well above top secret. I got there 1 week before 9/11, and I helped build a new Homeland Security plan for the whole country. Without missing a beat, she looks at me and she says, nothing you said qualifies you to be in the classroom. Now, I don't have a very big ego or anything, but my ego shrank in size that day. She sent me packing. But I wasn't going to take no for an answer. So I went home, got on the internet, pulled up the name of the 12 high schools in the East Side Union High School District, called all the high school principals directly, left them a message, I want to volunteer and teach at your school. None of them called me back, except one. Art Darren from Mount Pleasant High School calls me back, gets me on the phone and says, you want to teach in my high school? This is hard. Have you been here? I said, well, I would like to teach. Yes, absolutely. I know it's tough, but I want to help. So he goes to the superintendent of this massive district, gets me guest teacher status, and I taught 12th grade American government for a year at Mount Pleasant High School, and gang members and all there. It was honestly the hardest thing I've ever done, and the most rewarding. I loved it. Now, there are teachers here. I know there's some school board members. Let's hear it for teachers. I'm telling you, this is underappreciated. All I needed to learn was on the first day. Then I got a clear picture of what's going on. First day, East San Jose, raining. It leaked in my classroom, had to position the trash can in the right spot to collect the rainwater. Now, hang on a second. This is Silicon Valley, wealthy Silicon Valley high school leaky roof. Shameful. Why can't they fix the roof? Who runs the school at Mount Pleasant High School, really? Now, as it turns out, when you all went to the public schools, the teachers and the principals ran the school, but not anymore. I mean, now the legislature in the last several decades have taken over the running of the public schools to a great extent through the state education code. Now, the state education code, as some of the school board members can testify to it, the state education code are these mandates that are applied uniformly to all public schools at the same time. Now, there's 5,000 public schools in California. I mean, that doesn't make sense on the face of it. Now, in the 1960s, the state education code was about this size. Now, the state education code is this size, 2,000 pages long and growing rapidly. I'll tell you one reason why I'm running for governor. I'm going to rip control of the public schools out of the hands of Sacramento politicians. I'm going to move it down to the local